Thank you for taking the time to get to know me. Your time is precious and can't be replaced, so I really appreciate your time. I was born in 1972, and 8 months later, I moved into a psychiatric hospital. Now, my parents both worked there, so we lived within the grounds and consequently saw some very interesting things growing up. I spent much of my childhood playing in nature and being very curious about mental health. In 1989, I started a job in a merchant bank, which my family were very happy about. I also passed my driving test and rolled my car 6 weeks later. I finished up upside down in the woods, with my car scattered everywhere. I was very, very lucky that day, and luck has been something that's stayed with me for most of my life. In 1991, I had enough of the bank, and I handed in my notice without telling my family. This did upset them a little bit, but I had to do it for my own sanity. And I just went away to America to spend a summer working in a camp and traveling. That summer I realized I'd never be truly happy working in a full-time job long term. I needed longer holidays. I knew that I loved traveling, and I went on to spend over 6 years overseas, visiting 6 continents and working in 4 of them. In 1992, I became a nurse and a part-time fitness instructor. In 1993, I learned all about pharmacology for health and moved into a nurse's home. By 1994, I'd well and truly discovered that nurses' homes are not always the healthiest places to live, especially for me. By 2002, after witnessing much death and illness and pain, having seen patients have their hope stripped away from them at the end of their lives, I realized that it was time to find alternative health methods that could give people hope. And I started this by discovering Reiki. By 2003, after completing my training in neurolinguistic programming, timeline therapy, and hypnotherapy, I left my job and my home to start again in Sheffield. I sold everything I owned, which admittedly wasn't much, but it was everything I owned, and I stopped working to reflect on my life again. In 2004, I went traveling to Thailand and ended up working with my friend who started a new business while we were out there. I was staying on Koh Samui when the tsunami hit. Now, luckily, the island was unaffected, but I wasn't. It made me reflect on my life and ask some really searching questions. On New Year's Eve 2004, just a few days after the tsunami hit, I decided to go to a silent meditation retreat. I'd never meditated before and I didn't know any yoga. I learned them both here. That proved to be a very challenging 10 days for me. In 2006, I returned to the UK and went back to nursing. But I'd had enough by 2007. I also discovered Walk Innovation's active energy system, and then I left nursing for good. I spent my time since developing the active energy system, investing in my own training for personal development, energy medicine, alternative therapies, and business studies. My biggest conclusions is that life is relatively short. It's important to enjoy it while you can. Working in the care of the elderly wards, I realise that most people spend most of their life doing things that they don't love and putting off the things that they do. And then one day it's just too late. Do it now while you can. Balance is the key. Most people that I've ever met, certainly everyone I've spoken to at length, has at least one or two habits that they think is not particularly healthy. And guilt is the biggest killer of all. If you're going to do something, do it and use it as a reason to balance your life. If you associate every time you go drinking, for example, with going for a walk for at least 20 minutes, half an hour the next day, then everything in your life will improve because it's balanced. If you're ever in doubt, follow your heart. So many people ended up in hospital because they'd been making decisions with their head for so long. They'd be neglecting their heart, and that is where dis-ease can begin. I've got a disclaimer. I still have some lifestyle choices that would not be considered 100% healthy by the purists in the field, but I always balance them with the active energy system. Have fun whenever I can. Follow my heart. Always aim to make an impact. And always look on the bright side of life. My vision is to leave this planet in a better state than I found it, to promote more global responsibility, and to have fun whilst I do it. Fun, I think, is the missing link to most things health and well-being. And I'll do this one step at a time. And I'd love for you to join me on my journey. And thank you from the bottom of my heart for taking your time to listen to my little ramble here.